You're listening to Dear Strategy, where we answer all of your questions on product and business strategy. And now, here's your host, Bob Caporelli.
Welcome to another episode of Dear Strategy, where we answer all of your questions on product and business strategy. Real questions from real people in real companies, just like yours. So welcome, strategy creators, our new community. Again, working on some places where we can interact even more than the podcast here. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, I'm going to ask up front if you like this show, and you can go give us a review on Apple Podcasts or any of your podcast aggregators of choice. That really helps people to find the show. Definitely subscribe to the show as well. Tell your friends. Go out to dearstrategy.net and comment on our blogs and read the blogs and ask a question. Definitely get some more interaction going on this show, because we really want to start spreading the word and building this community of strategy creators that I talked about in the last episode. So with all of that said, let's get right to today's question, which is actually a question that in some form I have touched upon in past episodes, and I'll reference that when I write the blog. But I wanted to, really address this a little bit more directly, because it's a pretty succinct question. Not as succinct of a setup, I'll give you that, but here we go. So, the question is, Dear Strategy, how realistic should a strategic target be? So I know that I've covered this somewhere along the way, but it's such a passion of mine that I really feel like I want to do it again, because, there is definitely a difference between what I'll refer to as a target, and what I'll refer to as a goal. And I'll tell you right now, look in the dictionary, look online there, these could be synonymous, right? Or some people can think that they're different. I mean, I don't know that I'm giving you any textbook definitions here. Try and sway away from that a little bit on the show anyway. But my thought process around targets versus goals, right? When I have a goal, I'm thinking that's something that I want to achieve, but I have a solid plan behind it to actually get there, right? When I think of a target, I'm kind of thinking more of the broader, this is something I'd really like to do if I can, but it's kind of out there, right? I want to try and put together a plan. That's kind of my stretch, right? And sometimes we'll even call that a stretch target. But that's the way that I look at those two terms. Targets being kind of the stretch, and goals being something that I have a real solid plan to achieve. Again, don't pile on the comments on that one, because everyone, I'm sure, has their own definitions, and there might be a dictionary definition somewhere that contradicts that. That's just the way that I look at it. But what's important about this question is, when you think about strategy, should you be setting goals so that they're stretch targets, or should you be setting goals so that they're realistic and realistically achieved? And this is the way that I look at it, is that there's definitely a place in the world for both of those things. But when I'm putting together a strategy, I have a goal and I want to have a plan to achieve that goal. That's what the point of a strategy is. If I put a goal out there that's really more of a stretch target, and it's not something that I really could achieve with the plan that I'm putting together, I'm not even going to say that that's not worth stating, but what's the point of stating it if I don't have a plan to get there, right? So I'm not sure that that's really valuable. Now, what I do kind of translate that into is the vision. And, we've talked about vision here on the show before. When we think about a company's vision, that's kind of who they want to be way in the future. That's kind of their big aspirational, who I want to be, how I want to change the world, that type of a thing. And there is definitely a place in the strategy for that. I don't think that's where the question is kind of going, though. I think the question is more talking about the quantifiable goals. Should those be something that can be achieved, or that you just want to achieve, but you don't really have a plan to do? And then that's where I say, when you get down to the goals portion of your strategy exercise, they should be achievable, so that every strategic goal that you are stating in your strategy, you have a plan that follows those goals that will allow you to achieve them. That's the way that I like to look at it. Now, I'm sure that there are many different thought processes on this, and I'm not going to say, like most things with strategy, that there's an absolute right or an absolute wrong. I suppose that you can have a strategy that has all these stretch targets, quantifiable stretch targets, but your plan isn't in place to actually achieve them. In that case, those just become kind of informational, but I kind of see that that's filled with traps, right? I mean, if I state a goal to my management and I don't have a plan to achieve it, what am I really trying to say, right? That yeah, this is what I'd love to do. I just want you to know that I'm thinking about it. I mean, I don't know. That just doesn't really kind of go down with me. If someone says this is what they want to do, I want to know how you're going to do it, right? So that's kind of the way that I look at it. Now, I'll take advantage of this question to also kind of get on a soapbox about something that always bugs the heck out of me, right? It's a family show, so I guess I'll edit myself. But I can't stand this management style. And my goodness, have I seen it in a million places. I don't know if it became popular somewhere in, management culture or whatever. I don't know how this came about, but this thought process of, a manager saying, I want you to achieve this stretch and it's your job just to make it happen. Just make it happen, right? Just make it so. And that's it, right? They kind of throw the goal out there. It's way up there. It's virtually unachievable, but they're doing it because they want to challenge you, right? They want to challenge your thought process and tell you, you can make it happen. Just make it happen. And I tell you, that just drives me crazy. It really does. And I know that I've talked about this before on the show, but it just drives me nuts because, part of a manager's goal or a leader's purpose, I think, is to enable their resources to achieve whatever it is they want to achieve. Like, why do leaders think that they're immune from strategy, right? You could just throw a goal out there and have someone else figure it out. No, as a leader, you have to figure it out or at least be part of the solution. If you just throw a goal out there, but you don't know if it could be achieved or not, you're not challenging somebody, right? You're setting them up to fail. And to me, that just doesn't go down. So yeah, if you have a stretch that you want to achieve, well then, yeah, put a plan in place to try and achieve it and be part of that process. And if you can't figure that out with your team, then guess what? Your stretch target is just going to be a stretch. And maybe that's good to know what you want to do somewhere way in the future, but it's going to serve no purpose for your strategy. What you need to do for your strategy is have an achievable goal, have something that can actually be done and put a real plan in place to do it and help your team to get there. That's the way that I was raised in management. And well, I shouldn't really say that. It's not the way at all I was raised in management, but that's always the way I tried to behave as a manager, because I just don't believe that my job as a manager is to just challenge you with some unrealistic goal and let you figure it out, right? And then rip on you when you don't do it. I mean, that serves no purpose at all. So that's why I've always taken this kind of, yes, goals should be realistic and the plan should be a plan to achieve those goals. And if you can't achieve those goals, then reduce the goals or come up with another plan, but the things should match in your strategy. And that's at least the way that I look at it. So hope that's helpful. Again, how realistic should a strategic target be? Realistic enough so that your strategy achieves it. That's essentially the answer that I would want to give here. So thank you again for all you regular listeners. Again, go subscribe and do all the things I said at the beginning of the show. Dearstrategy.net is where you can find us. And also, please don't forget to go and check out the company that sponsors the show, the official show of Strategy Generation Company, my company. In fact, I'm very, very proud of it. It's doing really well as far as a launch. And we're off to a really good start. But go check us out at strategygeneration.com. The way that I like to look at it is that Strategy Generation Company provides training and inspiration for strategy creators. And that's who you are, right? So you're part of that community. Go check out what we have to offer there, training, workshop, coaching, and hopefully you'll be able to take advantage of that as well. So in the meantime, while you're checking that out, don't forget to make time for the plan. We'll see you back here on another episode of Dear Strategy. Thanks for joining.
Thank you for listening to Dear Strategy with Bob Caparelli. To learn more or to submit a question to be featured on our show, please visit us at dearstrategy.net.